small Swedish village, 1920s. Snow falls softly on wooden rooftops. Inside a modest home, a boy counts coins from his sales, matches, pens, tiny trinkets. Every crown saved is a step closer to a dream he can barely articulate. This boy, Ingvar Kamprad, will grow up to build a company that changes the way the world buys furniture. But his path won't be smooth. From humble beginnings, through trials, controversies, and genius innovation, he will leave a mark on millions of homes worldwide. What if a boy with little more than ambition and notebooks could redefine an entire industry? Ingvar Fyodor Kamprad was born in 1926 in the small town of Älmhult, Sweden. His family ran a modest farm, and money was always tight. From a young age, Ingvar exhibited entrepreneurial instincts that seemed larger than his small world. By age 5, he was already selling matches to neighbors. Soon, he expanded to fish, Christmas decorations, and pencils. Every venture, small as it was, taught him a lesson about value, customer trust, and profit. At age 17, he received a gift that would change his life: a bicycle. Not just any bicycle, it symbolized mobility, independence, and opportunity. With it, he could reach more customers, expand his small sales territory, and imagine possibilities beyond his village. Education was important, but traditional schooling didn't ignite his passion like business did. Ingvar struggled with dyslexia, finding letters and numbers a challenge, but numbers in his head, profit, cost, margins, made perfect sense. His mind worked in efficiency, logistics, and strategy, not rote memorization. Sometimes limitations sharpen vision, sometimes challenges spark genius. By his late teens, Ingvar had saved enough to experiment with larger ventures. He discovered that people craved affordable, stylish products, but often couldn't find them. He realized there was a gap in the market, and he could fill it. He formed a small mail-order business, selling pens, wallets, and picture frames. Ingvar named it IKEA, an acronym of his initials, IK, the farm where he grew up, Älmhult, and his village, Agunnaryd. It was more than a name. It was a promise rooted in humility and authenticity. By the early 1940s, Kamprad's small business was thriving. But Ingvar was restless. Selling trinkets was fine, but he dreamed bigger. He wanted to reach the masses, to make everyday items accessible, functional, and beautiful. He began traveling across Sweden, observing the market, learning from manufacturers, and understanding the logistics of production and distribution. He became fascinated with efficiency, how to produce quality items cheaply, ship them easily, and still turn a profit. The seed of what would become IKEA's flat pack innovation was planted here. Ingvar realized that to truly democratize furniture, he needed to rethink design and distribution, not just sales. Every empire starts with a single idea, but it's the relentless pursuit of it that separates dreamers from builders. By the mid-1940s, Ingvar Kamprad's mail-order business was thriving. He sold pens, wallets, and small household items, cheap, practical, and delivered by post. Customers loved the affordability. But Ingvar felt restless. Trinkets weren't enough. In 1948, Kamprad added furniture to the IKEA catalog. Tables and chairs, sourced from local manufacturers, appeared alongside pens and watches. Demand exploded. People in post-war Sweden wanted affordable furniture, but stylish, functional, and accessible. By 1951, IKEA launched its first dedicated furniture catalog. It wasn't just a list, it was a manifesto. It showed that design could be democratic, not elitist. Households from farmers to clerks could imagine modern living rooms in their homes. In 1953, Kamprad opened his first showroom in Älmhult. Instead of just shipping items, customers could walk in, touch the furniture, and imagine it in their homes. It was a revolution. Retail as experience, not just transaction. But Ingvar faced fierce competition. Rivals accused him of selling cheap, inferior goods. Manufacturers, pressured by competitors, began to boycott IKEA, cutting off supply. For a young entrepreneur, this could have been the end. Instead, Ingvar turned crisis into opportunity. If local suppliers shut their doors, he would go abroad. He found partners in Poland willing to produce quality furniture at lower cost. It was a daring move. IKEA became one of the first companies to globalize its supply chain. When the doors of opportunity close at home, sometimes the path forward lies across borders. The breakthrough came almost by accident. In 1956, an IKEA employee struggled to fit a bulky table into his car. In frustration, he unscrewed the legs. Suddenly, the problem of bulky shipping disappeared. Ingvar realized this was more than convenience. It was a revolution in logistics and design. If furniture could be shipped flat, costs plummeted, cheaper transportation, smaller warehouses, easier handling. Thus was born the flat pack. IKEA didn't just sell furniture, it sold an idea. You don't buy it finished, you finish it yourself. Customers became part of the process. At first, people hesitated. Building furniture? Wasn't that the factory's job? But Ingvar knew the psychology of price. If people saved money, they would gladly spend a Saturday with an Allen wrench. The flat pack solved 3 problems at once. Cost, cheaper shipping, equals cheaper prices. Design, minimal, modular, modern. Scalability, IKEA could now reach across Europe and beyond. By the 1960s, IKEA catalogs were iconic. The stores were destinations, huge warehouses where customers wandered through model rooms, sat on couches, and imagined better lives. And when they left, their cars were loaded with flat cardboard boxes containing the future of furniture. Sometimes the greatest innovations don't add complexity, they subtract it. By the 1960s and 70s, IKEA had transformed from a rural Swedish experiment into a rising empire. The formula was clear: flat pack efficiency plus affordable design plus experiential retail. But Ingvar Kamprad wasn't satisfied with national success. He wanted IKEA in every household, across borders and oceans. The expansion started in Scandinavia, then moved into Western Europe. Each new store wasn't just a retail outlet, it was a destination. Families made weekend trips to IKEA not only to shop, but to eat meatballs in the cafeteria, wander showrooms, and make a day of it. IKEA became more than a brand. It became a cultural ritual. By the 1980s, IKEA stores were opening in Germany, France, the UK, and eventually beyond Europe. With each launch came challenges. In Germany, competitors accused IKEA of dumping prices and threatened lawsuits. In the US, customers were unfamiliar with assembling their own furniture. Marketing had to re-educate shoppers about the IKEA way. In Asia, IKEA had to adapt to smaller living spaces, rethinking design for compact apartments. Yet Ingvar thrived on these challenges. He emphasized local adaptation without losing global identity. A sofa in Sweden might be oversized. In Tokyo, it became modular and slim. Everywhere IKEA went, it sold not just furniture, but a lifestyle: modernity, simplicity, affordability, and participation. By the 1990s, IKEA had become the largest furniture retailer in the world. Its blue and yellow stores were instantly recognizable symbols of design democracy. When vision scales, it doesn't just build markets, it shapes culture. But growth never comes without shadows. For all its triumphs, IKEA faced storms that threatened its image and integrity. Critics accused IKEA of sourcing from factories that exploited cheap labor, particularly in developing countries. Journalists uncovered harsh working conditions and low wages in some supplier factories. IKEA responded with codes of conduct and audits, but the damage to its reputation lingered. Flat pack meant efficiency, but also mass consumption. Environmentalists accused IKEA of fueling a throwaway culture, where cheap furniture encouraged frequent replacement. The forests of Eastern Europe became symbols of IKEA's hunger for raw materials. Investigations revealed IKEA's complex tax structures in the Netherlands and Luxembourg, sparking debates about whether the company paid its fair share. Perhaps the most shocking controversy came in the 90s when Ingvar Kamprad's youthful association with a pro-Nazi group resurfaced. Though he expressed deep regret and called it the greatest mistake of his life, the revelation stained his legacy. Each controversy tested IKEA's resilience. Yet instead of collapsing, the company doubled down. It launched sustainability initiatives. It promoted its democratic design ethos. Products must be functional, beautiful, affordable, and sustainable. It leaned into transparency, publishing sustainability reports long before it was trendy. Through storms and scandals, IKEA survived, adapting its image and operations to meet the demands of a changing world. Great empires are not defined by the absence of flaws, but by the ability to confront them and endure. By the late 90s and early 2000s, the retail world was changing fast. Big box chains dominated, e-commerce was on the rise, and consumer expectations were shifting, but IKEA wasn't just surviving, it was redefining retail. The secret? Experience-driven shopping. Walking into IKEA wasn't like stepping into an ordinary store. It was entering a carefully crafted story. Entire apartments built inside the showroom, designed to spark imagination. A 300-square-foot display showed how even the tiniest spaces could feel stylish and functional. Customers didn't just shop, they dreamed. Add to that the ritual of eating Swedish meatballs, cinnamon buns, and lingonberry jam in the IKEA cafeteria. Suddenly, shopping became leisure. Families spent hours wandering the maze-like layouts, kids played in Småland play areas, and shoppers left with bags filled with items they never planned to buy. Psychologists called it the IKEA effect, the phenomenon where people value products more if they assemble them themselves. Building that bookshelf with your own hands created pride, ownership, and emotional connection. IKEA had turned inconvenience into loyalty. Meanwhile, IKEA's catalog became the world's most printed publication, surpassing even the Bible in annual copies. Each edition wasn't just marketing, it was cultural influence. Homes around the globe absorbed IKEA's aesthetic, minimalism, practicality, and affordability. And just as the world entered the digital age, IKEA adapted. Augmented reality apps allowed customers to preview furniture in their homes. E-commerce platforms let people order online while preserving the in-store experience as a brand pillar. True retail power isn't about selling products, it's about selling possibilities. By the 2010s, IKEA was no longer just a furniture company. It was a global cultural icon. In Europe, IKEA symbolized post-war modernity. Every household had at least one Billy bookcase or lack table. In the US, it became a rite of passage for college students and young couples furnishing their first apartments. In Asia, it represented aspirational living, stylish, compact solutions for bustling cities. The blue and yellow warehouses became landmarks. For some, they were temples of affordable design. For others, they were symbols of mass consumerism and uniformity. Pop culture embraced IKEA. Movies set romantic scenes in its showrooms. Comedians joked about the frustration of assembling furniture. Social scientists studied its influence on modern relationships and living spaces. What made IKEA iconic wasn't perfection, it was relatability. Everyone had a story, a night spent struggling with an Allen wrench, a bookshelf that became a centerpiece of a dorm, or a simple lamp that brightened a first home. Through it all, IKEA maintained its philosophy: to create a better everyday life for the many people. By 2020, IKEA had over 400 stores in more than 50 countries, employing hundreds of thousands, and influencing the daily lives of millions. When a brand becomes part of people's stories, it stops being a company, it becomes culture. As the 21st century accelerates, IKEA faces its most critical test yet: relevance in a world of rapid change. With climate change dominating global conversations, IKEA pledged to become fully climate positive by 2030. That meant renewable energy in production, recycled materials and products, and innovations like furniture buyback programs. IKEA wasn't just selling new items, it was encouraging customers to return old ones for refurbishment and resale. As cities become denser and living spaces smaller, IKEA is designing for micro-apartments and shared living. Compact, multifunctional furniture, beds that turn into desks, sofas with hidden storage, reflect the future of urban life. E-commerce continues to grow, but IKEA's challenge is to blend digital convenience with physical experience. Virtual showrooms, AR shopping tools, and even experimenting with smaller city center IKEA stores are part of the reinvention. Amazon and other e-commerce giants are encroaching on furniture sales. Can IKEA's model of experience-driven shopping survive in a world where consumers increasingly click instead of walk? Younger generations care about ethics, sustainability, and individuality. Can a brand known for uniformity adapt to a world that celebrates uniqueness? IKEA's future lies in balancing its DNA, affordable, stylish, democratic design, with innovation that addresses new cultural and environmental realities. The challenge of tomorrow is not building furniture, but building trust. From a small farm in rural Sweden to a global empire that shaped how the world lives, IKEA's story is one of vision, resilience, and reinvention. Ingvar Kamprad proved that greatness doesn't need luxury. It can be built on simplicity, humility, and a relentless drive to serve the many people. Yet IKEA's journey also reminds us, every empire, no matter how beloved, carries shadows and faces storms. As IKEA marches into the future, one question lingers. Will the flat pack empire continue to thrive in a digital, sustainable, and ever-changing world? Or will its iconic Allen wrench one day become a relic of the past? If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Boardroom Biz for more real lessons from inside the boardrooms.